What's up, guys? As you guys know, I'm doing like a video series on regrets in the past in terms of girls. And quite honestly, I'm starting to run out of stories. And I've only done like a couple videos. So, yeah, you can kind of tell that I haven't had that many experiences during my sort of 21 years of life. Anyhow, this is another short one. There's some big ones I'm saving. I don't know if I ever really want to release them to the public, but this is a short one. Basically, this happened in high school. I was a freshman at the time. No, sophomore at the time in high school. So very young, even more experienced than the chode I was during my freshman college story. But I had joined this club called Future Business Leaders of America during my sophomore year. And it was a good experience. I had been prodded a little bit by my friend, and it was a good thing, potential experience for my resume, etc., etc. So I joined this thing, and you need to do at least like one event to be considered a member. So I chose the sort of competition event, where essentially you chose a sort of business subdivision. There was like hundreds, and then you sort of competed in it. And most of the time it was something like take a test. And I chose, because I was sort of like lazy at the time or whatever, I chose one you didn't really have to study for, which was like communications or something. And I didn't study. I took the test, and it was like verbal stuff. It was like SAT verbal stuff, very simple stuff, like grammatical stuff, like what is wrong with the sentence. And the answer was obviously the first letter is not capitalized, so like a multiple choice kind of thing. So I did this and submitted it, and there's a regional level and then a state level. And lo and behold, surprise, surprise, I won second place at this thing. And the sort of the teacher slash supervisor for the club happened to be a teacher in one of my classes, my comp sci class. And so she notified me during class, along with the friend who prodded me, that we had won first and second place. I got second place in the regionals. And basically you were supposed to go to an event at this regional sort of award ceremony. Obviously both of us didn't go because we were lazy Asians. It was very sort of horrible at the time. I should have gone. It would have been fun, but no one went to this thing. I mean, no one in our club went, despite the dozens who competed. So we submitted the electronic test at our school. We took it at our school. So our teacher went to this award thing. We won first and second place. And at the time, they were giving freaking trophies, like high stack trophies. In fact, I have it right here. Hold on for a second, I could bring it up. Look at this thing. For a freaking sophomore in high school who didn't get many trophies, this thing was huge, especially for second place, just second place. So I got this thing in 5th period. There was only 6 periods in a school year. I paraded this thing around. No, I didn't like scream or shout or boast because I was shy at the time. But I, sort of held it out, and I made it a point. There's time between classes to put stuff like this in your locker. No, I didn't have time, and I brought it to 6th period class just to show off. And I tried to play the cool card by sort of walking in the class with it by my side, pretending to hide it. But obviously I didn't really hide it. I sort of just held it, and people noticed, but obviously none of the girls really noticed or commented on it. But I had this thing, and I still have it several years later. And it turned out that in our region, we have counties in our state. In our county region, there was only 3 people who competed in our event. And two of them were at our school, and so me and my friend got first and second place. His trophy was even huger. He didn't really care because he was in like tennis and he got tons of trophies. And you know, it was retarded because at the time, you know, looking back, I wish I would have like done like cheerleading for college, as a club during high school. Now it sounds really retarded, but looking at the people who are now like cheerleading as men as in college, who are straight, first off, they're jacked as F. Like all the cheerleading males I know, they're jacked as F just from like cheerleading in college and high school. And I mean, this is a topic for another video, but yeah. Anyhow, so then obviously I qualified for states. By the way, the next year they took out the trophies on a regional level due to budget cuts, and then much more people entered in the communications subdivision next year, and I didn't make it. But that year I was qualified for states, which was huge, dude. It was huge because at states, you know, it was a 2-day event. We drove there. It was during the weekend. It was awesome, dude. And again, this was a thing where it was just you had to bring a suit there, and they had like free, like the meals there, at least the dinners were paid for, and they were legitimate meals. They were like professional meals. Like you had like buffet service, and you showed up during those meals in business attire, and there's like seminars and events you can attend during the day with just like speakers, workshops that were just awesome, that you can like learn a lot from. And like I would say like B/C class celebrities who were in business, like people who were like competed on like The Apprentice, which was like a reality TV show hosted by Donald Trump that specialized in business and so forth. And it was just awesome. And you know, at the time, here I was, just this dude who was stupid, who took like the easiest test and lucked out and got into this freaking state level thing. You know, I'm a kid who literally went to class and then just went home, and that was it. And obviously practiced piano and did all the Asian stuff. But you know, state level stuff, that was something not a lot of people had the caliber or the privilege of ever attending. So I'm at like this event, right, with, well, obviously I didn't bring this trophy along, but you know, I had my full suit, and it was awesome. And usually at these sort of clubs, it's sort of like a nerdy club, like it or not, so most hot girls don't attend these sort of things. However, for some reason that year, some hot girls did. Most of like our troop that attended, it was like, I would say like several people, 7 or 8, and there was 2 girls, and then the rest were just guys who attended. So whatever, the guys, screw the guys. But there was 2 girls. One of them was very attractive, and here's the thing: that girl had a friend who also I saw during the regional sort of test taking time during at our school. She took the test too, and this was a blonde girl who was at like the top of the social hierarchy at our school, our high school, who I had a crush on, and I believed had a crush on me, which was huge. But yeah, she didn't make it to the regional level or state level, which sucked. But she was very good looking, and then her friend, who was also very good looking, you know, dressed very well as well. You can sort of guess the sort of dress she wore. Anyhow, she was at this sort of state event, and obviously, you know, during the business things, she wore business attire, so she wasn't always dressed in revealing clothing, but she still kept it very attractive when she dressed like this. And this was a brunette friend of the girl I had a crush on. And so here I was just doing my thing, right? And this is going to drag on forever, so I'm going to make this story very short. Most people have clicked away by now, according to my analytics, so that's why I'm trying to keep it shorter. And at the same time, my voice is hoarse from telling so many stories. But I'm going to go to this event. So this is like a 2-day event, and during the end of this first day, maybe it was a 3-day event, I can't be sure. During the end of the first day, here's what happened, okay? There was like a dance mixer. It was like a nightclub mixer where in the hotel there's like this sort of venue where it was a very closed, small venue, and they had a DJ in the nightclub, and yeah, all these people pretty much there dancing and stuff. So I remember 2 sort of memories. First, before the nightclub thing, I remember the memory of our group, our school as a whole, just walking out and sort of going to Chipotle to eat lunch, because the lunches weren't paid for by then. And I just remember just being the odd one out. Now, she was just in her head, sort of like she was like in her head, sort of just doing her own thing, yada yada yada, talking about school and stuff like that. And quite frankly, the typical high school, prissy girl. And I remember just sitting there, just sort of not talking a little bit to the guy people there, and then just subconsciously wanting to talk to her, but it was just very hard to get into it. And looking back, I feel like I could have definitely talked to her. It was very hard, very intimidating. She had her girlfriend there, and they were just yapping away, and they had their own sort of bubble. But I really feel like I could have sort of got into it. But at the same time, looking back, she was kind of a prissy girl, judging from like what I've heard her talk about. Very preppy sort of stuff, occasional drama sort of stuff, which I hate. I always stay away from drama. And again, I don't really truly regret any of this, because you learn from experiences, you grow. I couldn't do it at the time. I'm not going to beat myself up for something I couldn't do at the time. Rather, you learn from them, you grow, and what you can do is look to the future and improve and sort of do better in the future in terms of those sort of events. And so, yeah. Then I remember walking to Chipotle, and then she saying with her friend, "Oh, we're going to eat at this pizza place, bye." And again, it was a pretty ice queen move by her. And I just remember thinking, man, I wish I could sort of talk to her. Darn, she's leaving. But looking back, it was like she wasn't interested. You were just too desperate at the time. She, personality-wise, was just very sort of, oh, I'm better than you, or at the very least, I mean, that might be an assumption, so I'm going to discount that, but at the very least, I'm pretty sure you wouldn't have clicked anyways, judging from the little bit of personality you did hear from her. But then there was the nightclub event, and I just remembered another event I'm going to tell you about afterwards. So it was basically a mixer, which was like a dance party for these high school people, and I remember going to it scared as F, and she stayed for about 20 minutes before just bouncing out. She said, well, she didn't really say but she just like walked away, and you could tell she had high social value. She held her shoulders up, she had confidence, and she was like, I've been to better parties, and just walked off. Not in any way a sort of arrogant way. It was just like quite honestly a very humble way. But yeah, she did it in a very humble way, just like, I've been to a lot of I'm not feeling this party, and you can tell she went to a lot of parties and stuff, and in a quite humble but showing a high social value way, she just sort of walked out after 20 minutes and not really feeling the thing. I remember for those 20 minutes just not even sure what I was doing. I was hovering around the area and like looking at her and just like walking around, stumbling around, and looking back, I think I was subconsciously just wanting to approach but being too scared. But logically, if you ask me logically at the time, I was just like, oh yeah, I'm just enjoying the music, blah blah blah. But you could tell by the way I was looking at girls, I wanted to approach and stuff. I never did. And then I remember staying for about like 1.5 more hours while all the other dudes who came with me from my school decided not to even go to this event. They had a much more funner time playing cards with themselves in their hotel room while I went to this event. Very typical behavior from many different types of people I have met later on in life. Very typical sort of behavior from people like that. I mean, a lot of my friends, that's behavior that falls right in line with them. In sort of these events, they would choose to stay home, play cards with themselves rather than go to these events. I remember staying for like an hour after she left with the only dude who went with me, which was this really cool, again, not the highest social value, but decent black dude who wanted to go to the event with me. And I never approached. He had more confidence in me. He tried to hook me up with this white girl who I wasn't feeling with at the time. I remember it because he was more confident. He pulled up this stranger who was this white girl, and she was decently attractive, but yeah, I could not do anything. He literally pulled me up and he was like, "Hi, what's your name? Meet my friend Will. Will, meet this girl." And he didn't know this girl. He was just doing this because he was a confident badass. And I was like, he literally pulled me because I wasn't willing to. Then when he sat me down and did that, as soon as he let go of my hand, I almost sprinted. He pulled it again, dragged me back. I sprinted as soon as he let go again. That occurred again for like 2 more times. You could tell the sort of chode I was. And then I sort of just, yeah, I gave up. He gave up, and then I just ran away. And that was the sort of vibe I was at the time. The girl was really receptive. From what I could recall, the excuse I was giving myself, and from the memory of the girl, there's this vague memory. I don't know if it was just, I can't even remember her face anymore, but I remember saying, she's not that attractive anyways. Whether that was true or not, or it was self-imposed and sort of, it's muddling my memories, I don't know. But I remember thinking she wasn't that attractive. I think it was true. She wasn't that attractive anyways. But that was no excuse. That was no excuse not to at least talk to her. It was very chode-like behavior. And again, I'm not going to dwell on the past and beat myself up. It's just something you can sort of learn from in the future. Noted, I don't really go to nightclubs or dance parties anymore, or really get invited to them. And so that's it. Oh yes, the final story. So at this 2 or 3 day event, I can't remember how long it was, we had these sort of dinner parties or dinner events where we dress up in business attire along with all 1,000 of every district that came, and we'd be assigned tables, of course, and we'd be sitting there in these huge, like 12-person banquet tables, round tables. In the venue was a Hilton hotel, huge Hilton hotel sort of auditorium, and you know the standard procedure. The host comes up at the front. He introduces himself, thanks the crowd, blah blah blah, and then he starts bringing forth guest speakers, and then they yap on for about an hour, bring up the next guest speaker, continue for about 3 hours, then we get the buffet feast, then we're on our way back to our hotel rooms. And so, this is a very formal event, sort of stuff like that. And I know some of you guys might be thinking, hotel rooms. Well, dude, this was high school times. Most dudes were, even the Caucasian dudes, the white dudes, and the white girls, they were pretty darn shy at times. And a lot of them they weren't, there was not really hooking up going on in these hotel rooms. Noted there was a lot more courageous dudes just yelling out, being the typical bro and being like, yeah, and like making girls laugh and stuff like that. Whoa, my trophy almost fell off. But I guarantee you they were definitely not confident enough, and there's definitely no hooking up going in hotel rooms. The hotel rooms were supervised by our adults. Know that they slept in different rooms, but still, it was like 5 people to a room of 2 beds. And yeah, trust me, high school stories, it's not as sleazy as you think. And yeah, I think that's just a general vibe at the time. No one's as sleazy or as courageous as you think, at least in high school. There's not a lot of hooking up going on. Noted again, there's a lot of white dudes who are much more courageous, being the typical bro and just doing outlandish stuff and making girls laugh and stuff and being much more forward with girls. But I highly doubt it went beyond that. You can pretty much tell. And so here's the story. This, I believe it was just 2 nights. So we had these banquets 2 nights, and both of these nights, I believe I sat 2 feet or 2 seats away in these sort of round tables, away from this brunette girl. And looking back, there's so many instances where there's a lot of lag time, where there's just technical issues, where almost up to 30 minutes they just played music, pop music, because of technical issues, and we were just waiting there. And I sat 2 seats away. First off, that was a stupid move. I was too much of a loser to sit there. But again, don't beat yourself up over past memories. Anyhow, I believe one night, at the very least one night, if not 2 nights, I only sat 1 seat away, and the person sitting between us was the black dude, obviously. He again was obviously not a huge boss. He was confident, but he was again not like a boss. So he was during these sort of lag events, he sat right next to this brunette girl, very attractive. Most attractive girl in the world? No. Most attractive in the high school? No. But to me, she was attractive, and sort of with this sort of prissy drama air along with her. But I felt like I could have at least passed the time talking to her, engaging in conversation with her, improving my social skills, having a blast, being more happy. I'm pretty sure I would have been more happy just talking to her and just making her laugh, rather than just sitting there awkwardly playing with my spoon and watching my black friend next to me playing with his fork and spoon, and just him being very awkward. He did some very strange stuff with the sugar packets there, and it was just, yeah. And I feel like that's the case a lot of times in life. I'm pretty sure back then I wanted to talk to her, and I would have had a lot more fun talking to her, but I was just too scared of it, and I was scared of rejection. And even coming in indirectly, colloquially, with just conversation in general, I felt like I would have been rejected, and so that's why I didn't do it at the time. But look, nowadays I feel like I could have possibly done that. But that's all I want to say. Thanks for watching, and as always, like, favorite, comment, and subscribe.